Hello, everyone, and welcome to Elevate Your Business. I'm Ed Jarecki, and I'm thrilled to guide you through today's episode. Thank you for joining us and making this part of your entrepreneurial journey. Our guest today is Russell Carriere, the broker owner at First Choice Business Brokers of East Tennessee. Growing up with a father who started his own businesses, Russell learned the ins and outs of entrepreneurship from a young age, starting from sweeping floors to assembling heavy equipment. With over 30 years of experience, he has run and operated businesses across various markets, including retail, wholesale distribution, light manufacturing, and hospitality. With an emphasis on privacy combined with a compassionate understanding of the emotional aspects of these transactions, today he guides his clients through the successful buying and/or selling of their business. As Russell joins us on the show, he'll shed light on what success means to him personally and how his definition has evolved over time, as well as one or two of his top challenges and the lessons learned associated with them. And finally, for today, we'll explore how Russell has leveraged innovation in his business and other work to overcome obstacles and achieve his goals. So please join me in welcoming Russell Carriere to the show. Russell, great to see you. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Ed?
I'm doing outstanding. We're just talking a little bit about some of the other work that's going on out there. So to start with, could you share a little bit more about your business and yourself?
Sure. So I am a business broker with First Choice Business Brokers of East Tennessee and Nashville, as you mentioned. So I help put sellers and buyers together to hopefully create a successful transaction, hopefully leveraging the expertise that I have over 30 years and making that marriage work.
Outstanding. So you've had a heck of a journey. And going from sweeping floors to where you're at today, there's bound to have been one or two challenges in that time. Could you share one or two of those challenges and the associated lessons learned?
Absolutely. So, as you mentioned, yes, I started out working for my father. He ran a manufacturing plant creating rough terrain forklifts. And his methodology was you start at the ground floor and work your way up. I was very young at the time. And so, one of the challenges that I had was I was thrown into an environment where most people were twice my age or older, but it made me mature quite quickly. And I thank him for that because it was a education I don't think I would have received otherwise. And then as I grew out of that business and started my own career, some of the challenges that I had was figuring out business, quite honestly. I learned a lot from my father, but until you're a business owner, you don't know what you don't know. And I think that comes with time, honestly, Ed. It's something that you can't really understand until you become a business owner and dive in and see the challenges as they occur.
I echo that sentiment. I have had a lot of different roles in my career, and some of them have had a lot of responsibility in both growing and managing other business money. And I always tried to walk into that with the mindset that I need to present their money like I would myself, very disciplined and very thoughtful, a calculated risk taker. I just don't jump in head first. But what was interesting with that is about 20 years ago when I started my first set of businesses, you're absolutely right. You just don't know what you're getting into until every one of those pennies is yours to spend, yours to decide on what kind of outcome are you looking to achieve with it. And very interesting.
Absolutely. And it's weird. So, one of my first careers was a business. So, I started a business, that retail wholesale line. And as you said, it's a different mindset when it's yours. It's the image that you're going to present, it's the level of delivery to your customers and watching everything that happens. And you have to control it to the best of your abilities. And the funny thing is, that business ended up closing, and I went into the corporate world where I was considered a sales professional in software sales and technology. I couldn't change my mindset. I had an unlimited expense account but I watched every dollar. The same with my image. I was very protective of the image that I presented. It wasn't my business, but I acted like it was. I
Right.
treated everybody like it was my business, it was impacting my business. And I've carried that forward to everything that I've done thus far. It hasn't changed. I can't stop thinking about it as far as being conservative and watching how you spend, what you spend things on, managing everything. Now it's stuck with me forever.
I love it. I love it. Any other lessons learned you'd like to pass along to our audience?
One thing I wish I would have done early is found mentors. I wish I would have read more. What I found over time, after that first business, I learned a lot from that experience. And I learned you can't do it alone. As a business owner, it's a very lonely position. And so what I found out in my other businesses as I developed those is I found other people that I could confide in. I started reading a lot of different books revolving around business. You name it, I probably read it. That I would say was my largest growing aspect of myself as a business owner. Finding people to talk to has been invaluable, quite honestly.
Outstanding. I appreciate that. So, based on what we just talked about, you engaged early and deeply to get that initial foundation. You read a lot. And so continuous learning has been an incredible component. And then you can't do it alone. So those are the three key messages that I take from your inputs. Is that a fair way
Yes,
to summarize?
absolutely. You've nailed it.
And so I'm going to jump to the question around success. Today, how do you
Okay.
define success after that journey?
So today, the way I look at success is other people's success. In my line of work, I am trying to help business owners achieve the ultimate goal, sell their business. And at the same time, I'm trying to work with buyers, especially a lot of new buyers that are coming into the market to help them find the right business that matches their strengths. And if I can do that successfully, that is what I consider success. It's not about the money for me anymore. And I don't mean to make that sound arrogant. I mean, we all want to make money. We're in business to make money, but that is not what drives me every day anymore. It's helping others meet their success. And it's extremely fulfilling. And I'm enjoying it immensely.
And so when you look back, where was your definition 20, 30 years ago?
Success with my first business was to make money. That was my driving force. I mean, I was 20 years old and it was all about the money. But at the same time, it was about image. I wanted to come across as the most professional, the most knowledgeable in whatever I did. And this was retail wholesale. This was watches, bags, belts, t shirts, earrings, and sunglasses. But I learned everything I possibly could about all those lines so I could demonstrate it and let my consumers and my customers know what the benefit was. And then to protect my margins and try to make as much money as possible.
So a lot of focus, but a lot of discipline that youthful age as well. So congratulations.
Thank you.
And so as we move on to the next, innovation is a part of all of our careers as well. And a lot of people attribute technology with innovation. But of course, to me, it's people, process, and technology and the culture that enables the people, process, and technology to create win-win-win outcomes. Win for the customer, win for the business, win for the people that support that business. So when you think about it in those terms, what are some of the big innovations that have really helped you grow and succeed in your business?
The top one is technology for me. With that first business of retail wholesale, computers were just coming out. It kind of dates me a little bit, but I leveraged it entirely. to manage my inventory, to manage my books, to actually help with marketing. I also leveraged it because this is when the internet was coming out, where you paid by minute. And I did a lot of research off the internet to learn about business and business techniques. And as time has gone on, I've continued to leverage technology because I'm a huge believer in it. But the other aspects, like you mentioned, is processes. One thing I've learned over time in operating businesses, that was something that I didn't focus on. I just operated my business, made sales, watched my money and my expenses. But over time, I learned that you need to have processes. In the service business that I had, we manufactured window screens, door screens, patios, things of that nature. And I found I had my inventory under control, I had my sales under control. And as I started to hire people, the schedule and getting the pieces and parts from our warehouse to the delivery vehicles was broken. That was a part of the process that I didn't consider. I had to, I learned the hard way. And so then we developed the processes within the business to make sure everything was aligned. And that helped my business tremendously. And that's one thing I can't stress enough to every business owner out there. You have to think of the little details within your business. I can promise you there's going to be broken items, and it's costing you efficiency when running your business. You have to go through the steps from the very beginning to the end and walk through it, not with just yourself, but your employees. Ask their input, because as business owners, we think we know everything, but our employees actually see things from a different perspective that you can employ to make things more efficient and make their lives easier and make them more productive. So that is what I learned in regard to process. It's something you have to focus on. You can't ignore it.
And the other thing that I would comment on, I'd like to get your feedback, is you cannot scale without process.
I would 100% agree with that. And I've met with some fractional COOs recently, and when they typically get called in is when there's a compelling event within the business. A product or service explodes. They have to hire people. They have to get more product out the door. And unfortunately, this is when they find the system is broken. So when they can actually capitalize on this growth, they're actually hindered by it. Another story, I know a gentleman in Nashville. He built a remodeling business and he went through this. He did exceptionally well. He had his process in place for a small business and he got very well known and then grew exponentially. He found out the hard way that he didn't think through the process completely. And it ended up costing him his business. He grew too fast, couldn't keep up, and he lost control of it. If I could stress anything to a business owner is you have to think through it, not just today. What does a year look like? What does 3 years look like? What does 5 years look like? What do you think your true growth is going to be? And are you truly prepared for it? We all want to make a lot of money. We want to be successful, but you have to be careful.
Yes.
It can literally cost you your business.
You know, that aligns with another conversation I recently had. I'll share the story and then draw the comparison. But in Scotland, there was a confectionery company that decided to do marketing and advertising, showing themselves as basically a Willy Wonka factory. And when people got there, it was nothing more than a bootstrap event that did not come close to meeting the expectation that would be set in the minds of those customers. Now, a slightly different story, but the key to that and the tie back is that they lost all those customers. So if you're not ready to support that type of growth or can't rally well enough to support that type of demand, then you're putting your business in severe jeopardy. Any comments?
Absolutely. Well, and it ties to marketing. What you just described is something that business owners need to think about before they implement their true marketing strategy. In your instance, this confectionery, they advertise themselves as Willy Wonka. So you created an image in the minds of your consumer. And so when the consumer shows up, if it's not Willy Wonka, what's going to happen? They're going to be disappointed, right? And so you get bad feedback, you get bad reviews. This applies to every business.
Yes, it does. Matter of
If
fact,
you're going to,
no, go
I'm sorry,
ahead.
go ahead.
I was just going to say I worked for Sears for quite a number of years, and I worked from 1997 to 2005. They had shut down their catalog division in 1992, and they had launched what they called the soft lines. I don't know if you recall that or not, but the softer side of Sears. It was a complete flop. Initially, it was incredible. The softline sales at Sears skyrocketed. And of course, there's huge margin on that side. So the ROI for what they did initially was incredible. But guess what? They did not only did they not have the inventory to support the demand that they had created, they could not recreate it. And so they left a huge segment of their customer population very unhappy and went through a dramatic downward spiral. And they kept trying to resurrect, come back, even purchased Land's End at one point to help bring back the softline side of the organization. And they could never rekindle the relationship with those customers that they had lost because of that bad experience.
Absolutely. What's the old saying? A positive experience gets you one review, a bad experience gets you three
Or more.
or more. And yeah, in this day and age, image is everything. Make sure your image is conveyed correctly for what you truly are. People respect that.
Absolutely agreed. And so when you consider where things are at today relative to innovation and where it's going into the future, do you have any thoughts on what things are going to look like 5 years down the road or so?
Completely different than what it looks like today.
I agree with that.
With the technology again of what's happening, and everybody's calling it AI, it is kind of AI, but the automation portion of it is going to change how people do business entirely. In some ways, it's great, but in other ways, I think we're going to be losing that customer interaction even more because you can have robots actually answer your phones, answer your email, answer your text. And we are not going to know if we're talking to a real person or not 5 years from now.
It's going to be an interesting world, isn't it?
It is
Like,
going to be very interesting. It's going to make businesses more efficient, but I also think there's going to be a challenge of actually understanding your consumer. Because if you're not talking to them and listening to them as an individual, how do you know where to go with your business? So there's going to be a very fine line of how to integrate this new technology.
I agree with that. Some suggest, however, that the need for direct human interaction is actually going to increase as we move into this AI digital space because humans have a need to touch and feel. And as much as you can program through artificial intelligence, AI solutions that can act and with even some emotion, it's still not real. Any comments or thoughts around that?
I hope that's accurate, honestly. One thing that I learned in this business, I haven't really been a networker and going out and meeting people in my other businesses. I relied on marketing and advertising, bringing customers in. In this business, I've done a lot of networking and it's changed my perception on being able to sit down with somebody and have a real conversation, it's changed my whole outlook, not just professionally, but personally. I've been extremely business focused throughout my career. Business has always come first. And now, because of the interactions that I'm making professionally, they're actually coming into my personal life. I'm making friends again, something that I haven't done since high school. So that I hope continues. I hope you're right. In 5 years, that people are going to be communicating more.
Now, the one piece of evidence that I would share to reinforce the thought that I do believe there's an element of humans, it really is the touch, the feel, the true connectedness comes from COVID. And, I'm a heavy analytic. I focus too much on the business versus relationships for the first segments of my career. And so as we started heading into the COVID period, I honestly thought that that would change human behavior. But what wound up happening is that it actually generated more demand for people to get out, see the world, meet people. Business work, Amazon took huge segments of the market away from the big box retailers
Mhm.
because of that. And a lot of that has continued to propagate. But at the same time, that need for human touch seems to be increasing in some ways, even though we've got Zoom and all that stuff. What Zoom does is kind of close that distance because we wouldn't be having this conversation if it wasn't for the type of technologies that allows us to get at least one step removed, not 5 or 10 steps removed from being able to have conversations with anybody, anytime, from anywhere in the world. Any thoughts
That
around
is
that?
true. That is true. Zoom and all these video conferencing has helped to keep people connected. What I found during COVID and coming out of COVID, corporations are struggling to get people back to the office.
Yes.
Now, I'm hearing both sides of it.
Mhm.
The corporate side wants to bring people back because of efficiency. They're finding they're not as efficient as they thought they were with people working remote. But I'm also finding the employees are wanting to go back for exactly what you said. We may have this technology where we can see each other and talk to each other over a computer screen, but they're missing the water cooler banter where they actually get to see somebody and interact in person. I think the trend going forward, and this is probably where your sentiment is saying the how we're coming together is going to increase over the next 5 years. I think it's because we are going back to the office. Everybody thought the office workforce is dead. I don't think so. I think we're going back to it. And I think it's a benefit.
I think it's a balance. I think there is a percentage of the workforce that wants that. I also think that there's an equally sizable population on the other side of that coin that doesn't want that, that is completely okay with working remotely. It's not that they don't want to be connected, they want that freedom. And the time waste of traveling to and from and the expense associated with that. And then I think there's this middle segment that there's a hybrid component.
Mhm.
But I think fundamentally the world changed and COVID accelerated the ability for that change to occur. Otherwise, I think it would have been more generational than it actually occurred. But I never see it going back to the way it was. I think the human interactions will continue to take place. Coffee chats, hybrid sessions, strategy sessions where you bring people into the office at a particular point in time. But honestly, from my perspective, I am completely against these organizations that want to control their people. And I would also disagree on the point that they've lost productivity because people are working from home. Actually, the data I've seen indicates just the opposite. They're more productive for a number of reasons. Happier environment, better fits their style. They don't have the travel time, so they can actually put in more time and still save time in their day, turn around, cook for the family, do whatever maintenance they've got to do on their properties or whatever. So I don't think the world's ever going back to the way it was before COVID. And for the controlling executives that it's only about control and power, I have no respect for them, to be quite honest with you.
I guess time will sort that out.
Yes, it will. So we'll have to keep this conversation going and see which one of us is more accurate. So, one final takeaway for our audience. If you could offer them one thing to say, you know what, you really should consider this as part of your entrepreneurial journey, what would that be?
Continue to learn, find a mentor, read as much as you can about different areas of business. That's only going to help you, and get out there and network.
Love it. Agree with every one of those sentiments. Any final thoughts?
Thank you. Thank you for having me on your show. I greatly appreciate it. I truly enjoy having these conversations.
I do too. Russell, it has been a great pleasure. Thank you
Pleasure
all
was
for
all mine.
Thank you so much. Thank you all for joining us today, and a special thank you to our guest, Russell Carriere, for sharing his insights, experiences, and success tactics with us. We hope this conversation has left you inspired and motivated to embrace the challenges of entrepreneurship with vigor, innovation, and adaptability. Remember, success comes in many forms, and it's essential to define it for yourself. However, take the lessons shared by Russell to heart as you navigate your own journey. Embrace change, seek out opportunities for growth, and always be willing to adapt to the ever-evolving landscape of business. Thank you once again to our phenomenal guest speaker, Russell Carriere, and thank you all for tuning in. We look forward to seeing you next time as we continue exploring the stories behind incredible entrepreneurs. Stay resilient, stay innovative, and have a wonderful day, everybody.